Well, hello, lovely humans, and welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, we just need to have a minor freak out moment because we surpassed 40,000 subs here on this channel, and I'm super excited about it. So I figured let's just have a mini dance party for a second, right? Okay, so now that we've addressed that and, gotten that out of the way, today we are going to be going over 15 tips to creating the perfect registry. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. Tip number 1, start early. You are going to want to have your registry completed before you send out your save the date. So if we're looking at like a 12-month time frame, you're going to want to have your registry done about 6 months before your event. And that's for all of those people who start shopping ahead of time, who want to get you something for your bridal shower or perhaps your engagement party. You're going to want to make sure that you have this done with plenty of time to give people plenty of opportunities to get you all the stuff that you need. Tip number 2, pick 3 different locations. Low end, medium, and high end. And although there is this allure of doing like everything 100% online, there will be people, some of your guests will want to go into a brick and mortar store to purchase something. So be sure to select at least one of the places that you register to as a brick and mortar store option for those who want to go in, get a feel for it, or who maybe procrastinated and didn't buy something in time and then therefore need to rush into Target to buy you that perfect bowl that you need for your kitchen. Tip number 3, use a list. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do everything that is on a list, but oftentimes these wonderful registry lists that stores will offer, I think Amazon has one too, will help you to remember things that you don't know that you need. Obviously, feel free to pick and choose over their suggested items, but I do recommend at least having a list as a springboard to make sure that you don't forget anything and fill in all the gaps and make sure you're covering all of your bases. Tip number 4, be yourselves. As great as those lists are, and they are super handy, obviously, it was tip number 3. This one kind of contradicts that a little bit. Feel free to add on things that are uniquely you guys. So if you are really into interior design and you really want some new throw pillows or a new piece of artwork for your living room, add that on there. You don't necessarily have to do the things that are only on the list. Do something like an experience instead. Maybe you want to take a yoga class together. I mean, that's not me and my husband, but that could be you know? So don't just register for the essentials. Feel free to have some fun with it as well. Tip number 5, and this is something that I always share with all of my clients. Upgrade your stuff. So not everyone is moving in together or moving out of their parents' home right when they get married. And oftentimes they've already had their own place or perhaps they're already even living together. And that could be you. And you look around and you say, well, I've got utensils, I've got plates, I've got bedding, I've got towels. I don't need any of those things. However, if you're like me, when I first moved out, I had like Goodwill tchotchke things that had just kind of been pieced together or passed down to me that weren't exactly my style. This is the opportunity to upgrade those items. Because let's be honest, if you already have utensils, the likelihood of you going out and upgrading those to something that's slightly nicer is pretty slim because you're going to want to put that money towards something else. This gives people the opportunity to help you upgrade your space and give you pieces that are going to last you a very, very long time instead of your Goodwill pots and pans like I had when I first moved out. It was such a hot mess. It was so hodgepodge in my kitchen. And towels only last for so long. Bed sheets only last for so long. Upgrading those items to nicer quality items means you get more longevity out of them, and then, you don't have to buy it for yourself, which is great. Tip number 6, add some timeless pieces. I wish that I had registered for a Le Creuset Dutch oven when I got married. Like, I really, really want one of those, but I can never bring myself to buy something like that. But that is a timeless piece that I could have thrown on my registry, and that would last me an entire lifetime. I also wish that I had registered for more serving pieces, but that's just me personally. I really, really like to entertain. Now, you don't necessarily have to register for fine china, but putting some bigger ticket items on there that are good quality and are gonna last you a long time is really in your best interest. Because again, let's be honest, you're probably not gonna go out and buy that for yourselves because you're newlyweds and you probably don't have like a ton of cash flow going around, so let someone else bless you and get that for you. Now, speaking of big ticket timeless items, be sure to have a good mix of high-end things and low-end things because your guests are gonna have a generous range of budgets of what they can afford. So balance out those big ticket items with some of the smaller, easier to purchase things for your college roommate who is a struggling journalist, So she can buy you a set of kitchen utensils instead of a KitchenAid mixer. Tip number 8, overdo it. Over-register. I should have looked this up beforehand. I think the rule of thumb is register for like 2 to 3 gifts for each guest. Like, so if you have 100 people, then register for, 200 things. Wow, because 300 sounds like a lot. Maybe don't do that one. Do like 2 for each person. you know? So on top of having a wide range for budgets, you also have a wide range of options, because for me personally, if someone has registered for like something that's decorative because I like interior design stuff, I'm more likely to buy that because I like the gift personally. So having a wide range of options for guests to select from is, again, in your best interest. And tip number 9 is gonna kind of negate the last tip just a little bit. You have to know your space. If you are living in a studio apartment, probably registering for a barbecue is not a good idea because you're not going to be able to fit it. In circumstances like that, I'd recommend registering for experiences or perhaps a honeymoon fund instead, because you just don't physically have the space to get all of those things into your tiny little apartment or into your life. Because you may not necessarily have the space for a KitchenAid mixer. Those things are giant. It doesn't fit in my kitchen cupboards. It actually sits in my pantry on its side. It's like giant monstrosity that actually, to be honest, I don't really use that often. I went through a little bread making phase and I use it to knead some sourdough. So yeah, that one doesn't get touched too much, but I'm not a baker. But if I was in a smaller kitchen, I probably would have regretted registering for that. But since I have a big one, it's just chaos in there, so just throw it on the pile. Tip number 10, this is a huge one. I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually do a lot of research before I do these videos, and I didn't see this tip said anywhere, and that is see it in person. For everyday items like plates and utensils, you're going to want to go and physically pick them up and touch them and look at them. Because while it is super easy to just kind of click everything online and say, hey, that looks cute in the picture, you may not know how it feels in person. Like for me and my husband, for example, when we went and registered, we did Bed Bath & Beyond was one of ours. We went and looked at the utensils. I didn't know that I was the type of person that enjoyed a certain weight to my utensils until I started picking them up, and I was like, oh, that one's like ridiculously light. That's really weird. This feels bizarre to work with. And then we found the perfect one that had like the perfect weight and the tangs nearly the full width of the blade. And so while registering completely online is technically the easiest way to go, I would still recommend grabbing one of those little scanner gun things and going to a brick and mortar store and walking around and picking up some things, because what you see online may not be what you get in person. Isn't that like the story of our lives these days? Tip number 11. Think outside the box or in it. Adding items like storage containers. Man, I wish I knew that tip before I registered, because I'm a big fan of baskets and I use them absolutely everywhere to store all of my kids' crap. In fact, I call them crap catchers. And while you guys may not have kids yet, getting storage items could be super helpful, especially if you are living in a studio apartment and you need to organize things in certain ways. Or things like yard tools. We have a yard now, and we have no tools, and we have to go buy tools to take care of our yard. Again, doesn't apply if you're in a studio apartment, but you could also use power tools. Everyone could use an impact driver and or a drill. Getting a small one like, oh gosh, I think Milwaukee actually has like a pretty decent compact size one. Registering for those kinds of things. Because so many people tend to think that registries are kitchen items or bathroom items and kind of stay there. But really, it's all things to help you get your marriage started on the right foot and just ways for people to bless you. So if you have a yard and you need yard tools, register for those. If you need storage stuff, register for that. Get some power tools. Feel free to get a little crafty when it comes to this, because it's all about getting what you guys need. Tip number 12, think ahead, like think long term. I personally did not realize that my house would become the Thanksgiving and Christmas house. And don't get me wrong, I'm super, super, super excited that we get to host all of my family gatherings because we just have the house with the space to do it. But when I first registered, I was living in a 2-bedroom condo and didn't really think that I would ever be the person to host these events. I mean, I wanted to, but I didn't know. So while it does seem a little bit random to get the turkey roasting pan, I've used that every single year since we got it. So even though you may not have a huge space to host right now, if you think maybe down the line you could be into entertaining, then toss some of that on there. And that also brings back in the timeless pieces. Just think long term. And that also means registering for more plates and more silverware as well. Because while you think you could probably get away with 4 plates and 4 bowls for 2 people, 1, washing dishes sucks. And so if you only have 4 plates and y'all have 2 meals at home, then you have to do the dishes. So like, number 1, let's be lazy together and get more plates so you don't have to do dishes as frequently, right? And 2, you never know when you're gonna end up entertaining in the future. So I recommend having 8 to 12 sets of each of these items just in case. That, and if your particular line gets discontinued and then you do become the hostess with the mostest, you will either have mismatched plates or you'll have to go out and buy a brand new set. Tip number 13, keep track of your registry and update it as you need to. Because who knows, you could register for a bunch of small ticket items and those could get completely purchased out by all of your guests, and then you're like, oh wait, shoot, I don't have anything in the $50 range anymore. I need to put more items back on there. So kind of keeping a mindful eye on what's going on with your registry, checking in, I don't know, once a month, once every other month to make sure that, well, one, so you can see what's getting purchased because that is so much fun, and two, so you can make sure that you still have things in different price ranges for your guests. Tip number 14. Y'all, I just learned about this today. Like I said, I do my research before videos, and I saw something called a hold registry. My mind is blown right now. Did you know that a lot of different registries will allow you to place a hold on the items? So it'll show you that it's been purchased, but it won't be shipped until you allow it to be shipped. Because wedding planning is chaotic enough as is. So keeping track of gifts, and thank you notes and trying to organize things, it just gets really confusing. That, and if you're planning to move, you already have enough moving boxes as it is, so you don't necessarily want to pile on a bunch of more gifts and then have to get a bigger moving truck. You know, I mean, that's probably an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. It is really nice to be able to control when those come in. And it's also a lot easier for your thank you notes, which brings me to tip number 15. The second you receive a gift, write the thank you note. Okay, maybe not like the exact second, but write them as quickly as you can because life will get busy. And after you get married, life does not stop. So you're definitely gonna wanna make sure that you are getting on those thank you notes as quickly as possible so you just don't have to stress out about them later. So if you don't choose to do a hold on your registry, that's perfectly fine. But as you receive the gifts, write the thank you note because then it's just you're checking it off the list and you're getting it done. So that's all we have for today, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you guys are interested, I've actually put together a list of registry basics, in my opinion, on my Amazon storefront, and I will be linking that down below. Now, this is coming from a wife who cooks almost every single night, and I have 3 children, so these are tried and true things that we use in our home that who knows, you might potentially need in yours as well. So if you guys are interested, I'm gonna pop that on down below, take a look at it, shop around a little, you know. If you haven't done so already, like this video if you like the video. I mean, we're talking about people buying you stuff. I like that. And subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. I think I'm potentially considering doing a giveaway when we hit 50K. Like, that would be super cool. But we have to hit it first. So subscribe if you haven't already. We also have so many exciting things coming up that you guys are not gonna wanna miss out on. Yeah, that's cryptic as heck, but I don't even care. Just subscribe and you can figure out what's coming up. Because it's exciting. And until next week, bye guys. So I'm here today to share with you, how many? 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, sure, of my most unexpected but most essential kitchen items. Now, these are all things that I never knew that I needed until I had them, and if they were to mysteriously disappear or catch fire or I don't know, they would just cease to exist in my home in general. That does happen when you have children. Stuff just walks away sometimes. I would immediately go out and repurchase these things.